There are criminals. And then there are monsters. Men so dangerous, so unpredictable, that even death itself seems afraid of them. This is the story of one such man. A prisoner so feared, so violent, and so impossible to contain, that he was given a nickname whispered across prison walls and law enforcement circles alike. Sentenced to death, even in a bucket of water. What does that even mean? It means this man was so deadly, so soaked in blood, that even if you drowned him in water, even if you locked him in a steel cage and sank him to the bottom of the ocean, he would still find a way to kill. He would still find a way to survive. Some believe it's just a metaphor for his resilience. Others, they believe it's something more sinister, something unnatural. This is not your ordinary tale of crime and punishment. This is not a redemption story. No. This is a descent into darkness. The man at the center of this story was not born evil, but he became a force so destructive that the system didn't know what to do with him. Every prison that held him ended up regretting it. Every guard who crossed him ended up broken, physically or mentally. Every attempt to execute him either failed or made him even more terrifying. He wasn't just a murderer. He was a symbol of chaos, a walking nightmare that haunted even the toughest prisons in the world. And as we dive into his past, his crimes, his time on death row, and the mysterious legends that follow him, you'll see why some say this man was never supposed to exist in the first place. This story is dark, it's disturbing, and it's absolutely real, or at least as real as the shadows we choose to ignore. So sit back, but don't get too comfortable. Because once you enter the world of the unkillable prisoner, there's no turning back. Welcome to the legend. Welcome to fear. Welcome to the prisoner sentenced to death, even in a bucket of water. Before he became the most feared prisoner alive, he was just a boy, quiet, strange, and invisible to most. Born in a forgotten corner of Eastern Europe, his childhood was drenched in neglect and cruelty. His mother was a drug addict, barely present. His father, an ex-soldier with a violent temper and no conscience. In that broken home, he didn't learn love. He learned fear, and how to survive it. By the age of 7, he had already been hospitalized multiple times, injuries from accidents, or so the official reports said. But neighbors whispered otherwise. They said he didn't cry when bones broke. They said he smiled when animals screamed. One local teacher once wrote in her notes, "This child has eyes like a wolf, cold, empty, watching." At 9, he went missing for 3 days. When they found him, he was hiding in an abandoned slaughterhouse. He didn't speak. But 2 days later, a local bully who used to torment him was found in the woods, half buried, bones broken, eyes wide open in terror. That was just the beginning. His first arrest came at age 11. He stabbed a man in the neck with a broken bottle after the man tried to take his food. No warning, no hesitation, and no remorse. By 15, he had already committed 3 murders, all random, all brutal. Psychologists called him a textbook sociopath, but even that felt like an understatement. He didn't just kill. He studied people before killing them, watched how they moved, how they talked, how they begged for their lives. To him, it was a game, and he never lost. By his early 20s, his name was on international watch lists. Interpol called him extremely volatile. Prisons that held him began noticing strange patterns, guards quitting, inmates disappearing, surveillance cameras mysteriously going dark. Inside prison walls, he didn't just survive, he dominated. Gangs feared him, officials hated him, but no one could control him. And so the boy who once hid in the shadows had become something else entirely. A predator, a myth, a nightmare dressed in human skin. The descent was complete. The world hadn't created him. It had simply unleashed him. Catching him wasn't an arrest. It was a war. For years, he eluded law enforcement across 3 countries. Every time they got close, he vanished. Witnesses died. Officers were found with their throats cut. Some simply disappeared. He didn't run like a fugitive. He hunted like a ghost, leaving behind trails soaked in blood and fear. Interpol eventually declared him armed, uncontainable, and psychologically unstable. It finally took a military-grade operation to bring him down. A specialized tactical unit surrounded a crumbling warehouse on the outskirts of a border town. Drones, snipers, dogs, thermal vision, all for one man. Inside, they found a scene straight out of a nightmare. Traps lined every corridor, booby traps, explosives, skinned animal corpses. And in the center, waiting calmly in a chair, him. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. He just smiled. The trial was one of the most high-profile in decades. The courtroom was heavily guarded, snipers on rooftops, bomb-sniffing dogs at every door, armed officers lining the halls. Even so, many court staff refused to show up. Reporters called it the trial of the devil. Victims' families wept. Some screamed at him. He didn't blink once. The evidence? Overwhelming. The crimes? Unspeakable. But what stunned the world was his demeanor. Cold, calculated, almost amused. He never denied anything. In fact, he corrected details when witnesses got them wrong. Not to clear his name, but to make sure the horror was told right. The judge, visibly shaken, read the final sentence. Death, immediate and absolute. Any method necessary, even drowning in a sealed tank. It was the first time in decades that a court authorized unorthodox execution methods. Why? Because they had already tried the usual ones. Lethal injection didn't affect him. His body rejected the sedatives. Electrocution short-circuited the equipment. He even survived a staged hanging in a maximum security prison, his pulse returning minutes after being declared dead. Scientists were baffled. Doctors quit. And the nickname stuck. Sentenced to death, even in a bucket of water. But death wasn't the end for him. No, it was just the next chapter. They placed him in the most secure cell in the country, a custom-built steel box buried beneath the earth, surrounded by motion sensors, reinforced concrete, and 24-hour surveillance. No windows, no human contact, just four walls and silence. They thought it was enough. It wasn't. From the moment he entered death row, strange things began happening. Guards who watched him too long started having nightmares. One officer gouged out his own eyes, muttering, "He sees me even when I blink." Another quit after just one night, claiming he heard the prisoner whispering through the walls, except the prisoner never moved his lips. He didn't scream, he didn't beg. He sat in his cell, smiling, always smiling. And somehow he knew things, guards' names, their families, their fears. It was as if the walls spoke to him, or maybe he had become one with them. Attempts to restrain or sedate him failed. He broke handcuffs like toys. Straitjackets? Torn apart. When they tried to feed him through automated slots, he manipulated the timing and nearly crushed a guard's arm. After that, no one got close. They used machines. But even then, the systems malfunctioned, frequently. Lights flickered. Cameras shut off randomly when he stared into them too long. They thought isolation would break him. Instead, it broke the prison. One night, the entire facility lost power for 12 minutes. Just 12. When the lights came back on, 2 guards were dead, their necks twisted in opposite directions, yet no doors had been opened. His cell was still locked. He was still sitting there, smiling. Then came the final blow. The escape. No one knows exactly how it happened. One moment he was there, the next, gone. No signs of forced exit, no broken locks, no alarms. It was as if the walls had opened for him and closed behind him. All they found was a message, smeared on the inside of the cell in something no one could identify. 4 chilling words. "You sentenced me wrong." Since then, he's vanished. But sightings pop up now and then, a shadow in a security camera, a whisper in a prison riot, a massacre with no fingerprints. He wasn't just a prisoner anymore. He was a curse. To this day, his escape remains one of the greatest mysteries in criminal history. No fingerprints, no footprints, no DNA, just gone. The official report says he vanished under unknown circumstances, but behind closed doors, many admit the truth. They have no idea what happened. Some believe he's dead, that he found a way to end his own life in a way no one could trace. Others think he was never human to begin with, that he was something darker, something born not of flesh and blood, but of hatred and shadows, a punishment the world could never contain, a curse in the form of a man. There are whispers, of course, sightings, urban legends, a man with a hollow stare seen near a maximum security riot in South America, hours before a mass breakout, a blurred face in the background of a prison surveillance tape in Russia, minutes before a guard was found crucified on a wall. No proof, just rumors. But the fear? That's very real. Some say he lives in the tunnels beneath abandoned cities. Others claim he's building an army of the forgotten, killers, outcasts, and madmen who worship him like a god. But maybe the scariest theory of all is that he doesn't want to be found. Not yet. That he's watching, waiting, learning. And the justice system? Powerless. They threw everything at him. Guns, bars, chemicals, death itself. And still, he walked away. Not because he escaped justice, but because justice was never built for someone like him. So what was he? A man? A myth? A monster? Maybe all three. One retired officer who worked the case for over a decade said it best. He wasn't born evil. He became evil because no one stopped him. And now he's out there. Proof that some people are beyond saving. Proof that evil, when left to grow, becomes unstoppable. But here's the question that haunts us all. If death couldn't hold him, what will? Maybe one day he'll resurface. Or maybe he's already around us, hidden in plain sight, blending in, watching. Maybe, just maybe, he's already picked his next prison, and this time he won't be the one behind the bars.